Hello and welcome to another IC Monitor tutorial. In today's tutorial, we're going to analyze a Telegram capture and customize the IC Monitor to make that easier. We're going to introduce the Telegram list and its corresponding views, the Telegram details and bytes. We'll talk about display filters and create expressions to use them. We'll customize the list view and showcase some features that might not be that intuitive. The Telegram list view, which is this view right here, will by default display all the telegrams that are captured on the interface or interfaces that we selected. And it will operate in many ways similar to tools like Wireshark. Now, to give us some data to try it out with, I'm going to start a capture right away on the only IPv4 enabled interface on my PC. I'm going to pre-select it already, so we'll just start and watch the telegrams coming in. Now, to give us in those telegrams some that we can identify, I will also start a traceroute to Google's DNS server, which will then give us some ICMP packets that have a couple of interesting characteristics that we can use to demonstrate how to operate the list view. Alright, I think we have enough data, so let's stop the capture and get to work. The most intuitive way of looking through the list of captured telegrams is just using our mouse wheel and scrolling through the list, or maybe grabbing that scroll bar and doing the same just a little bit faster. We can then click on any telegram in the list, and we'll notice the Telegram details and Telegram bytes views fill up with information. The Telegram details show us a stack of protocols that are contained in this telegram. Protocols are identified in the IC Monitor in what is called network data nodes, or nodes for short. Every protocol has its root node. We can then expand it and find its field organized in subnodes. In the case of TCP, we have the TCP root node in its header. We have the subnode destination port. Over here in the Telegram bytes, we'll then see the data that this node contains. In the nodes view, we'll have a list of all the nodes the IC Monitor knows, depending on the licenses that you have active. So if we expand TCP, we'll find the same destination port node right here. As mentioned earlier, we could find our ICMP telegrams by just scrolling through the list and identifying them by their value in the protocol column. Though in a list with over 1,500 telegrams, that might take a little more time than we're willing to spend. So an easier way to go about this is using what is called telegram expressions. Expressions can be entered up here in the telegram expression field, and they describe telegrams by their nodes and the values those nodes contain. So in our case, we know we're looking for ICMP, so it must contain the ICMP root node, and we can see the ID right here. We type that in as our first valid expression. We can then jump straight to the first occurrence of the telegram, go through the list, or reverse the direction. Now that we've found our telegrams, there's still a lot of data around them that's not really interesting to us. So we could apply what is called a display filter by clicking the Apply Filter button here. And we can now only see telegrams that match our expression. We still have all our 1,500 plus telegrams, they're just not visible anymore. Another way to go about this, if you don't know the nodes that you're looking for specifically, is to build expressions graphically. For this, we open the Create Expression dialog, and here we'll have a list of nodes, operators, and we can enter values that those nodes contain. Now let's use this to build an expression that will find us the reply packets from the Google DNS server. We know its IP address, so we'll go to the IP node, IP header, and source address. All the other values already make sense. We'll just have to add in Google's DNS server address. We have the equals operator, And as we can see, there's an expression being built. We can then decide if we want to concatenate this with AND or with our existing expression. We can say add expression and then activate pressing enter, or we could have done that with the apply filter button as well. And now we see 3 telegrams which contain the reply of our Google DNS server. Now if you have reoccurring use cases, it might make sense to build expressions that you want to store. For this we can go to the Select Expression dialog, and here we have a list of standard expressions that we can choose from, or using Manage Expressions, build our own that we can then choose from. We'll have to put them in a group, name it creatively, then add a new expression to it. In this case, we'll keep it simple and just identify the root ICMP node, for which we know the expression already. We could also access the Create Expression dialog from here, but for this one we don't need it. We'll say Apply. Now we have a group containing expressions that we could use. We'll select this, and again it won't be active until you activate it. Now if we're analyzing a data stream, maybe live, or we don't really know what kind of data we have, there's another way to get expressions right from the list by just right-clicking on a telegram, saying telegram expression, and then we can apply this display filter, again using the or and operators. This is also possible directly from the telegram details, or we can use the history to find our expression. Now we can also navigate the list by the telegram number. You can type that in here, jump up, and there we are at the top of the list at telegram number 1. If you're analyzing proprietary protocols, it might also make sense to jump to specific byte patterns. Finding our telegrams in the list is a good first step, but to really analyze what's going on, we need a little bit more information. So let's first get back one of our filters, apply it, and now we have our ICMP telegrams. Now on their own, we can just see there's a lot of ICMP telegrams, but not really what's going on. We would have to click on each telegram, browse the nodes, and learn it that way. To make this faster, the IC Monitor allows you to customize the telegram list. We can pick nodes, for example, from the telegram details, and just drag them up here to customize the view. In case of a traceroute, it might be interesting to take a look at the TTL field. So we just drag that up here, and we can verify that traceroute will send 3 pings with steadily increasing TTL values until we finally reach a point where we get replies. We could also bring the columns over from the nodes view. If we open up the ICMP node here, we can drag the type and the code over here. Another way to go about it is using the data node configuration dialog. If we open this up, we again get a list of all the nodes the IC Monitor knows. And we can then, for example, pick the IP source address and bring it over in the data columns by either double-clicking or just dragging. We could also adjust the way these values are displayed. For example, if we don't want to see the ICMP type, we can just switch this to hexadecimal. We'll say apply, and now the columns have changed again. Now if we want to see which value equals which ICMP type, it's no problem, we'll just drag in another column, put these two next to each other, and there we have that information. The Telegram list has a couple more useful features that might help you in your analysis. For example, if you do a live capture, it is very useful to have the list scroll down to the last captured packet. Enabling Autoscroll will do just that. When analyzing telegrams, timestamps are usually of utmost importance. Especially the time that elapses between two telegrams can be very interesting. To see that, we'll go on the time column, go to time in seconds converter, and set the timestamps to relative to the previous. And we'll now see the amount of time between each telegram. Can set this back, of course, and set it to relative to first. First meaning the first packet in the capture, so since we started capture and this ICMP packet was captured, 20 seconds elapsed. We can also pick a value, set it as reference, and all the subsequent telegrams' timestamps will then be relative to this. Another feature that might not be intuitive is that you can copy all the data in this list. So I'll just mark a couple telegrams, hit Ctrl+C, and then open up an editor or Excel, copy the data in here. This is very useful when wanting to visualize data or just pass it to colleagues for analysis. To make visual analysis a little bit easier, we can fade out equal values in our packets. And if we capture from multiple tabs, it might happen that we have duplicate telegrams. We can then expand this, go to the hide equal telegrams configuration, and enable it. That concludes our analysis tutorial. Thank you so much for your attention, and we'll see each other in the next tutorial.